Great. So everyone who has joined so far, thank you for coming. Feel free to put your questions in the chat and I'll just be checking them periodically. So welcome to our Smart Money Goals After Show. You're joined with Andrew today, who's going to answer some questions about his journey, his time in investment banking, and more general stuff. We're really just trying to get to know him and his journey so far. So to warm up the room a bit, I told you, Andrew, to prepare yourself. I have some riddles. So only two, they're not too difficult. And guys, you can try and guess, but don't, maybe give Andrew a couple of seconds to think about it so you don't ruin the answers for him. Okay, what has to be broken before you can use it?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm going to preface this by saying I've had little sleep, like I said to you earlier. I've just had a newborn. So, my mind is a bit fried. But probably, this is probably a weird answer. But maybe, what has to be broken before you use it? I was going to say your heart, but...
Wow, that is a deep...
but maybe that's a bit too deep. What has to be broken before you use it? I have no idea.
Okay, I'll give you a clue. It can be found in the fridge.
In the fridge? Oh, eggs.
Yes, correct.
Oh.
Okay, second riddle. I am tall when I'm young, short when I'm old. What am I?
Tall when I'm young and short when I'm old. Again, like I was gonna say something random. I was gonna say hair. Like you have a lot of hair and then you lose it.
That is a good response.
But
it's not the correct answer.
Yeah, but it's not the correct answer. Tall when I'm young. Maybe once. I was gonna say memory, but I guess that's like probably big and small. Yeah. No.
Okay, cool. It is a candle. So obviously you light a candle, it melts.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
I know it's not the best. But...
No, it's fine. It just goes to show you like what my talents are and what they're not, and riddles.
You're more than talented in other ways, so this is fine. Cool. Thank you for answering those riddles. Hopefully your brain is warmed up now. So I will hand over to you and ask you the question. Who is Andrew? So if anyone is to ask you, who are you? What is your story? I will ask that question and let you answer it.
Yeah. So if someone was to ask who's Andrew, I would just say probably Andrew started, with the essence of me probably started in a very random way. And when I tell people this, people are like, "Are you serious?" But my very essence of me started when I was in school. And, I'm about 14, 15. And, the one thing I loved more than in my life, what I was obsessed with. I was obsessed with girls, right? But I was absolutely rubbish at getting any girls. I was the type of guy that would walk up to a girl and girls would would run away, not even walk away, they would run away. So you can imagine I was absolutely useless, hopeless. And I needed help. So I went to one of my best friends, and this friend is someone, that it was completely opposite than me. Like he doesn't even try and attract girls. Girls come to him. So I went to him, I said, "What's your secret? What are you doing?" And he said, "Look, Andrew, I've got to, work with you. So I said, "Okay, what do we need to do?" So he said, "Look, I'm going to take you to, and this is back in the day, and this is giving my age away. So he said, I'm going to take you to Oxford Street and I'm going to just work with you. And I want you to go up to a girl that you like and ask her for a number." So I said, "Okay, I'm ready." So, lied to my mum. Mum and dad were quite strict, religious, and said, I was going to the library instead of going out to look for girls. Went to Oxford Street with him, walked up to, amazing young lady that caught my eye. I went up to her and I said, "Can I have your number?" And she said, "No." And she said no in such a brutal way that, it just scarred me so much to the extent that my friend was like, went home straight away. He was looking at me like, "What are you doing?" I ignored his calls. And it was only until a couple of weeks later when, he came around and knocked on my mum and dad's door, came into my room and he sat me down and he said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "Look, I can't deal with this. I can't deal with this rejection." And he said something to me that has, like, you know, in a long-winded way of telling you who the essence of who I am. He said to me, look, Andrew, don't focus on no, focus on earning your yes. And that quote, don't focus on no, focus on earning your yes, like completely changed my life around in terms of one, at school, you know, going to a bad school, you know, having to like not focus on what the area I was growing up in, focus on how I'm going to get out of it. That allowed me to get a scholarship to go to a private school. You know, when I was at university, not focusing on the fact that I knew nothing about investment banking, focus on how I'm going to earn that yes to get into investment banking, got an internship, got into investment bank. Like, you know, moving on to when I switched careers and went into TV and production, not focusing on the fact that I knew nothing about TV and production. And the fact that everyone said, why are you changing careers? Like, are you crazy? You're earning good money. Not focusing on that negativity, but focusing on, you know, I wanted to make a show that showcased my family. And that's what allowed me to go and create a TV show. I'm not sure if many of you have heard of this, called Meet the Adebanjos. So in a nutshell, in a long-winded way, the essence of me is, like, you know, not focusing on any no's, but, you know, going to earn my yes.
I love that. Thank you. I hope you guys found that inspirational. Definitely. I think myself personally, rejection is something that you have to get used to the older you get, because the more things you go for in life, the more, just the way probability works, the more rejections you're going to get.
And girls can, you know, reject you in a really harsh way. If you learn from there, you can work your way up.
Oh, lovely. Okay, so starting with your career in investment banking, how did you decide that that's what you wanted to get into? So you mentioned that you did that at uni. So why is that the career you chose at first, and what was your experience like?
Yeah, it was because of the money. I'm going to be 100% real, you know. Like, I went to a university called Warwick, and I remember, like, I studied economics, and I remember, like, you know, these firms used to come to the campus in, like, the first terms of the year. So, like, you know, what do they call it? The autumn terms, from September to December. And one, they used to have, like, loads of nice food. So as a broke student, I used to go there to eat. And I used to go to these presentations, and they used to talk about, you know, these jobs. And before that, because all I was exposed to was, like, high street banks, my goal was to get a job in the high street banks. But then these places will say, you know, you can earn double your salary in bonuses. Like, you know, you can completely buy a house within the first year or two of graduation. So I said, I don't know what this job is, but, you know, sign me up. So it was mainly the money. And then after the money, I was like, because there's loads of different areas of investment banking, I said, which one suited my personality the best? And I've been an entrepreneur since I was maybe 12. You know, I'm the person that did, like, you know, I used to throw, like, club nights. You know, I used to be a professional poker player. You know, fun fact, I made enough money playing poker that paid for my whole university. I didn't have to take a student loan or anything like that. So I've always been entrepreneurial. So I said, what role in investment banks is an entrepreneurial role? And that was trading. So I said, okay, I'm going to go for that. And that's how I got into investment banking.
Wow. So you just said you made enough money playing poker that you didn't have to take out a student loan.
Yeah. I was like, literally, I've been to Vegas. I played in the World Series of Poker and stuff like that. Yeah,
I would have not expected that. Wow.
Yeah, like that. And, you know, and this is to go to show you, I mean, to anyone listening as well, that sometimes people limit themselves, you know, and that's what I find. You know, sometimes people have a sense of, you know, they follow people and say, this is the path. So, you know, you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, a medic, or you're going to be a music producer or whatever, you know, so very defined roles. But, you know, life is for doing and just exploring your potential. So, you know, I'm here to tell you, you know, you can go from banking to being a TV producer to, you know, like running, like being a professional poker, whatever you want to do, like, you know, challenge yourself and you'd be surprised what you can achieve.
Wow. That's so random, but, like, such a cool fact. Okay, so you mentioned that you transitioned into TV producing. Why did you make that decision, and how did you have the confidence to even consider that as an option?
Yeah, it was two things. First of all, it was two things. First of all, I was living in New York, so living the dream. I got a job with a company straight out of university, graduate program. I was a trainee trader. I got promoted to associate, and then they said, look, there's a position in New York, vice president position. We're going to give you a penthouse, pay for everything. You don't have to spend any of your salary on travel, accommodation, and you're going to be living in Manhattan. And when they first told me that, I said no. And it might sound surprising, but it was a little bit of a fear. I was like, I've never been out of South London. I was so used to living in South London. None of my friends are outside of South London. I don't have any friends in any other country, especially not in America. So I'm gonna have to make new friends, go to America. It sounds great, but I was enjoying my life, earning good money in South London and being the man. And it was only until someone, and I turned them down like 2 or 3 times, until someone said to me, Andrew, look, never turn down an opportunity, because you never know what it's going to lead you into. So I go to New York, living the life. And then this is giving my age away. And this is around 2009. So around the subprime crisis, right? So my boss says to me, but I knew it was time to come back to London. I had my girlfriend who was living in London, and long distance relationships is a whole story in itself. So I was like, I need to come back. And they were like, no, we'll give you even double the money to stay in New York. And they were like, Andrew, don't come back. Do not come back. There's no jobs here. This is like the financial crisis. It's difficult. And I was like, no, I'm going to come back. Despite all the risks, they said, look, you're going to be at risk. And if you're in a job, at risk means in like opportunity of losing your job. And I was like, no, don't worry, I'm going to come back. I'm going to prove myself. And I'm going to make it. And I came back, and within 6 months, I got sacked or made redundant. So I was like, oh man, that didn't go too well. But I've always had a passion and dreams. I had, in one hand, I was like, I had job offers to go and work for other banks. And in another hand, I was like, this is an opportunity for me to live a dream. And I grew up, like I said, I grew up in a very religious household, which meant that I didn't have a TV growing up in our household at all. We weren't allowed to have a TV. So I grew up, when you're restricted from something, you want it more. So I grew up wanting to like create a TV show and also show the life of, growing up as a British, Nigerian, British African in the UK. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go and pursue this dream. I have no clue, no idea. It's like jumping off a cliff and just like, praying that, wings are going to come by. But I knew I'm going to work hard. Whatever it takes, I'm going to make it. So I just started with that dream and then went on that vision to say, look, whether it's going to take money, people, resources, I'm going to make it happen.
Okay, so that's wow, first of all. And it couldn't have been easy. So you lost your job, you didn't have any, consistent income at this point, and now you want to pursue a dream that's actually going to cost money. So at the time, did you still have, income, or, how were you kind of sustaining yourself?
Yeah, it's a good question. And it also goes to prove to you about, again, like one good thing is I had savings. So, sometimes a lot of people want to pursue dreams, right? But sometimes you don't have the capital to do it, right? So at least I was able to be in a fortunate position where, I had a job where I'd made money, had some savings, but I thought like, within 6 months or a year, like, the company would be like, skyrocketed. Unfortunately, it would took like 3 years for the company to get going. So, all my savings were gone. I had to move back in with my parents, super embarrassing, but hey, what are you gonna do? And you get the looks from people saying, "Oh man, that Andrew used to be a banker. Now he's living back at home. Now he's like, as they say, a waste man, right? Back at home." But you got a dream, you got a vision. The great thing is, I was still able to earn money doing like different things in terms of consultancy. So that kept me going, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. But it was just because, and this is from someone who, like, born and raised in London, parents are Nigerian. I'd never visited the African continent, but because of this new job or this new dream, I was able to visit at least 10 African countries and explore. So it was just that adventure that just kept me going. Going to the different TV conferences around the world, selling my TV show, having that experience. So because I kept having these new experiences, you know, I got invited to speak at Harvard about my journey and stuff like that. So because of that fun adventure, and the business started to you know, reaping fruit, that's what kept me going.
Wow. So that must have been, you know, humbling. You know, you basically had to change the lifestyle you were living before, comfortable, money coming in, and you had to move back in with your parents. How were you able to motivate yourself? Because I think it's easy to say conceptually, you know, you have a dream, but in moments where you are, you know, pitching your TV show, maybe you're not getting the kind of responses that you want at that time. How were you able to motivate yourself through all of that?
Yeah, do you know what it was? It was milestones. Milestones. I tell people you need to hit, like, if you have a dream, you can't just be on a dream and like forever. Like, you need to have some milestones. So first milestone was, okay, I give us 6 months to raise £150,000 to start the company. We did that in 4 months. I was like, okay, cool. Like, we're making some progress. Then I was like, you know, we need to produce with that. I mean, and it sounds like a lot of money, but it's not much. You know, we have to produce a whole season with £150,000. So I was able to do that for, I think, about 100,000. So it was like, okay, we're making progress. So it was, you know, continue, like, we hit the progress. And I was like, you know, we have another year to sell the show to a TV pro and network. We wasn't able to sell it in the UK, but I was able to sell it across Africa. So that was another milestone. And then it got to a stage where, you know, and this is a funny story, and like two funny stories, actually, interesting stories. There's one, like, I was going to give up. And then, you know, it was just people I was meeting, and they were like, you know what? We started to get these emails from people saying, you know what, this show, it's a silly show, but we watch it with our kids and it brings us closer together. I was like, wow, like, don't give up. Okay, wow, it's making an impact. Then we started to win awards. I was like, okay, wow, this is getting somewhere. But still, we weren't breaking through. So we'd spent all that money and we didn't have a deal for season 2. And then I, you know, like, this is where I was at the lowest, no money. Then I get an email, and the email says, you know, Andrew, want you to come and speak at Harvard at, like, the African Business Conference. And like, you know, mostly I would be like, you know, my ego would be like, you know, like, raised, like, yeah, that's great. You know, I'm going to speak at Harvard. So I sent them an email and say, you know, you're going to pay for the ticket for me to come. And they're like, no, you have to come on your own dime. And then I was like, you know, are you going to pay me for coming? Because, you know, I didn't have no money. They're like, no. And I was like, man, these people are taking the mick. You know, they want me to come to speak. But then one of my friends was like, you just never know what you could come of it. So I begrudgingly find a ticket, you know, fly over, stay in some random hotel, and go to this conference. And I speak, and I didn't realize the person who, like, I've been trying to reach, like, one of the CEOs of the biggest African TV stations, was in the audience, and she heard me speak about my dream and my vision. And afterwards, she just said, "Look, let's have lunch." I wasn't expecting that, and I was like, "Man, you're the person I've been trying to email, and your assistant says, you know, like, you know, not available and stuff." And after 30 minutes of having lunch, she was like, "Look, I'll give you a new deal for season 2." And that's what kept me going. So it's those milestones, you know, those milestones. If I hadn't hit the milestones, then I'd have quit. But the fact that we kept hitting milestones, you know, if you're in the pursuit of a dream, that keeps you going.
Wow. I don't know if you're a person of faith, but me personally, I don't believe in coincidences. And wow, just look how everything just lined up, and the person you were trying to reach just happened to be there. Can't be a coincidence.
No, you know what? It can't be, but, you know, also, but you have to put yourself in the right place, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I meet some people, and people say, you know what? I had a friend of mine. I said to me, you know what? I said, what you do? I said, kept calling him every Friday. So where are you? He's like, oh, you know, I'm at church. I don't go clubbing anymore. You know, I'm doing all night prayer service. You know, because I want to get a job. And I'm like, you know, how many CVs have you sent out? Oh no, I haven't sent that many out. I'm like, prayer ain't gonna solve all your problems. You know, you got to do the work.
Yeah, no,
So that's the thing. You know, if you do the work, if you put yourself in the right places, plus, you know, whatever spiritual thing is helping you, that will get you there. But it starts with doing the work.
Yeah, 100%. You mentioned something completely slipped out of my head. There's a very good point about. Oh yes, so you had this TV show. You had this. I watched it, by the way. It was years ago. I don't know where you first released it, whether it was on TV or on YouTube. I remember watching, because when I saw it on Netflix, I was like, I remember this show. I watched it when I was in secondary school and found it so funny. Even till now, the dad, I see him in Nollywood movies, and I always remember the first time I saw him was from Meet the Adebanjos. It was a really good show. So curious to know if you're working on anything new, because obviously that was a great show, and a lot of us could relate to it. You know, I personally am from a Nigerian family as well. A lot of my friends are Nigerian, so we seeing our British Nigerian family dynamic on TV was something that I had never seen before. So are you working on anything new, anything touching on maybe more relevant topics in our society? Not to say you have to talk about race, but that is obviously a very hot topic at the moment, or anything else really. Are you working on?
Yeah, no, I mean, I keep it light, and I keep it like I love comedy, so when people say like, Andrew, can you make a show about like, George Floyd or something like that, I'm like, I keep it light, and I love comedy, right? So that's my lane. I like staying in that lane. Yeah, working on some like reality competition shows, but again, all around the dynamic. So my dynamic and my focus when it comes to like TV content is exploring the dynamics between first generation parents and second generation kids. I love that. I love that mix. I love that. There's so much comedy there between, and it's all races, like, all immigrants all across the world. There is always that fun comedic culture clash between, parents who've been growing up and raised in a different era and the country versus their kids who are born in a different country. So that's kind of what I do. And also, and this is where I go to show you about, in terms of like, for anyone listening, around not keeping yourself pigeonholed, right? So I also now like work with a lot of young people, talented young people who are trying to break in to the places that I wanted to break into. So like the investment banks, the consultancy firms. So I head up a like the finance and consultancy division at like a recruitment company, just aimed for Black and ethnic minority, like, undergraduates and graduates who are trying to break into that. And yeah, just trying to help. It's everything is attainable. It's just having a plan, having a goal, and having the right motivation. Sometimes I find it's people have the motivation, but they don't put in the work. Some people have the work, put in the work, but they don't have the right motivation. So putting everything together, and especially the skill set as well, that's kind of like what I'm passionate about. But in 5 years' time, I'll be on to the next thing, So I wanna, when I'm, on my deathbed, I want to say like, look, I did so many different things and touched people in so many different ways, as opposed to be saying, what, all my life I was a, no disrespect to anyone who's like, a lawyer, accountant, banker, or whatever. I don't want that to be for me. I want to do so much different stuff. Everyone's different, but that's what I want to do.
Well, that's great. So what would you, because loads of people are talented in different areas. So clearly TV producing was a talent of yours. I mean, whether you had the opportunity to actually explore it as early on, but it was still a talent that you had, a gift that you explored later on. So for people who have the interested in so many things, they might be creative, but also very academic. They might want a stable career. Maybe they don't have the freedom to explore these talents because they might not have the financial support from their family or whatever the case is. How would you encourage them to explore some of these talents and interests?
Yeah. Financial support is not excuse anymore. Anyone that says that, you got to give them a slap on the head, and say that, like, come on, like, you got YouTube, so you can learn anything. Like, if I want to learn, say, sewing, for example, I don't need to say, oh, I need to spend money in a sewing school. I can go on YouTube. Like, even if I want to learn how to ride a horse, I can watch a YouTube tutorials and learn how to do stuff. So anyone who uses the excuse of money or anything like that is just not serious enough. So again, and it sounds harsh, but this is the environment. I came from a harsh environment. So like, there's no excuse, right? There's no excuse to go and pursue your dreams, what I would tell people to do is numbers doesn't lie. So try things and see if it gets any traction. And it's funny, you mentioned, you said that you watch, Meet the Adebanjos on YouTube. Like, we put Meet the Adebanjos on YouTube first, a pilot, to see whether or not it had any traction. And because we got so many views on YouTube, I think it's 2010, we got so many views on YouTube with so many comments saying, oh my God, you guys need to make this. We need to see this. We need to see this. We need to see this. I was able to show that to investors and say, look, people want to see this. I think sometimes people get a bit delusioned, in terms of what their skills. So one, they either tell everyone they want to do anything and they don't put anything out there, so it just remains in their head. Or when they put it out there, it doesn't do well. They don't figure out, okay, how can I make it better? So, how to make it do, like how to do well. Sometimes your marketing, sometimes you may make the most amazing show or production you put on YouTube and it's crickets. It's because no one knows it's out there. Maybe you need to spend a bit of money on marketing, letting people know, build some buzz. It's just no excuses, no excuses. Yeah, like if you got an interest, try and do it, see if it works. And if you do have the talent or someone says you have the talent, then pursue it.
Yeah, I always tell young people that YouTube actually needs to create a university. You can honestly get the amount of information you get in a degree just through watching YouTube videos. So, and it's free. So there, like you said, there really is no excuse anymore. So if you were to go back to your younger self, so you're an investment banker, you just finished uni, and you were to give yourself some advice, what would you tell yourself?
Yeah, I would probably say, buy more houses, because like the property price has just gone through the roof, like back then, I think, like I said, my goals to wanting to earn money, wanting to get jobs. My goal was buy a house or flat within 12 months because I could be sacked. So, I achieved that goal, but then I just stopped. I was like, I just bought a house and now I'm cool. What I should have done is like every year or every 2 years, buy more houses, so think more about, long-term investing and stuff like that. That's what I told myself. But apart from that, nothing, still be that adventurous Andrew, still not taking no for an answer. One thing I like, and it's tough. It is tough to do. And I'm naturally an introvert. Some people say, Andrew, sometimes you sound like an extrovert. I'm naturally an introvert, and I don't want to go out and go to a networking event and meet people, but I have to, and that's the thing, that drives me. I'm like, oh man, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go to this meeting. I don't want to go to like Harvard and meet these people, give a speech. But if I don't do that, how am I going to get ahead? And just have, for anyone who has that fear, and also if you have a fear of, I for many years I used to have a fear of public speaking until someone said, like, what are you doing about it? And I said, oh, you know what? That's a good point. So I joined an organization called Toastmasters, like a public speaking organization. And that just revolutionized, my life in terms of how I was able to come across in meetings, in, pitching, meeting people. But so if you've got something that you're struggling with, you need to put in the work, invest in yourself, start doing things. Some people, I meet people, graduates, say like, Andrew, you know what? I keep flopping the online testing to get jobs. I'm like, how much work are you doing to get better at that? Oh, no, I'm not doing any work. I'm just applying. I'm like, no, you need to spend time. So is there any areas in your life that you feel you're weak at? Work on it. And it was going to make like an exponential impact in your life.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. So we've kind of reached time at the moment. You dropped gems.
I'm happy to answer any questions. If anyone has any questions, please type in the chat.
Ask questions.
And, anything has any disagreements of anything I said, happy to, I'm not 100% right. I'm just giving you what's worked for me. Everyone is different, but, hard work, and working smart is going to work for everybody.
Yeah, 100%. So no one has any more questions. We did have a couple. Let me see if I've gotten to all of them. And yeah. I think you've kind of answered. What were the 5 key lessons you learned along the way? Would you say you've answered that question?
Yeah, pretty much. And again, it's one of those things people like to see, Especially, that's quite an interesting question because they said 5. Sometimes in life it may just be 1. Sometimes people want these lists of like, tell me the secret on how I'm gonna make it. Like you just need to start. Whatever you want to do, whatever your dream is, you want to start. What's the age ring? Like, what's the audience? Like the age
14
ring?
to 18.
14 to 18. Okay, 14 to 18. Biggest advice, 14 to 18, is you need to do well in your GCSEs and A levels. Like people don't realize how that impacts you when you're trying to get these jobs. At university, for most of the internships, they don't look at your university or university predicted grades. They look at what you did in A levels and GCSE. So that's the biggest thing that holds a lot of people back, is that they have dreams to have these jobs, but their GCSE and A level results are not that great. And there's no excuse. Like you may go to a bad school, you may not have a tutor, then spend your time on YouTube, like learn this stuff. Like, if it's maths you're struggling with, figure out how to get better. But GCSE and A levels is really important.
Cool. There's a question here. What would you advise someone going into their second year of uni?
Yeah, you need to get your summer internship for next year. How it works, for a lot of the top jobs that you go for, and I see this person studying computing. A lot of graduate jobs are given to people who do summer internships. So you can do a summer internship, and at the end of the summer internship, they give you a full-time job at the end of it. So you don't want to graduate and start looking for jobs, because it's like you're competing with everyone. So why don't you this summer look for what jobs you like. So if you're in computing, all the internships for next year, most of them will start, their applications will open in September, and start applying and figure out, do they have online testing? If it's online testing, figure out to get better in that. If you're doing computing, they probably may have like a coding exam, figure out how to get better at that. So just figure it out, but yeah, set yourself up by definitely get into a summer internship, and then that will set you up for success.
Cool. Welcome. There's a thank you in the chat. I have a last and final question. I graduated about 2 years ago, and I still don't feel like I have it all together. Like, I don't feel like I know everything about what I want to do in life. You've progressed further, you've achieved more things. Have you arrived at that point where you figured out what you want to do in life?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't think you should do. And this is the thing. Live your life on, to anyone who's like in your 20s, and again, it's going to give my age. I always sound like an old uncle or something like that. I don't feel like one. But, I sound like one. Is 20s is for exploration, right? It's like finding you. If you're talented enough, you're going to succeed regardless. So like I said, I went from banking, I went from TV. Now I go into the banks that I used to want to get into, and I speak with their HR teams and like figure out strategies on how they can get diverse talent employed in the firms, right? So like almost three different careers that I've had. Don't be afraid of tomorrow. That is the biggest thing. So life is never figured out. I don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, I just had a baby girl 4 weeks ago. So I don't know, what's that going to be like, raising up a daughter, I have a son, that's another adventure and challenge. So don't try and figure out anything. Just figure out here and now. And wherever you're at now, do it really well. And people will then recommend you for things in the future. One thing I learned about is being visible. So even probably the fact that we're talking right now is probably because, I was visible on LinkedIn. You reached out to me and said, can you come on? If I wasn't visible, no one would reach out. So are you doing good stuff? Do people know about it? And if people know about it, that's going to set you up for stuff in the future.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for your words of wisdom. I hope you guys were taking notes. But even if you did, if you didn't, we will be posting this on YouTube next week, Wednesday. So you'll be able to watch it back. Any final words, Andrew?
No, I just want to end with, like I said, where I began. You know, just whatever you're going in through in your life, don't worry about the no's. We're all gonna get no's. Sometimes you're gonna be told no multiple times. The thing is, just figure out how to earn your yes. What do you need to do to earn your yes? And if you have that mindset, and that belief and that commitment, like, you will be successful.
Thank you. And where can they find you?
Where can they find you? Find me. I mean, you know, I'm not someone that likes to be found.
Me neither. So
like, you know, some people are like, you know, have you got an Instagram account? No. You know, are you on Twitter? No. LinkedIn. If someone wants to, like, you know, find me on LinkedIn.
Okay, cool. I'll just type his full name into the chat so you can find him. Cool. Thank you so much for your time, Andrew. This has been great. I personally have learned a lot. I might even catch up with you another time because I still have questions, but that's another point. Yeah, I've definitely learned a lot. I hope you guys who have been watching have too, and I hope the people who watch this later on YouTube, you also learn a lot too. Thank you, Andrew.
No, thank you. It's been a pleasure. And, like, you know, hopefully, you know, I hope this works or doesn't work. But I'm gonna say go England, but, you know, but if England lose, like, take it out of the recording, please.
People who are watching this in the future, let us know in the comments if
England won. All right, thank you so much. Have a good one, everyone.
If you like this video, please do follow us on our social media at We Are Dossier on absolutely everything. So you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and of course right here on YouTube.
And if you found this useful, why not share it to a friend or your family or absolutely anyone. Thanks for watching.